Hi guys, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing just fine, Ranch Mama Shannon. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. It's windy as all get out here. Luckily, we're not having the blizzard that they were predicting.
That's good. That's good to hear. Well, welcome everybody to the Beef Maps Weekly Spaces here, hosted on the Beef Initiative X. You can find us at Beef Initiative. Visit welcometobeef.com. Get a Ranch Mama code there. Drop your email. Hear from Ranch Mama. Get some discounts, free freezers, all types of great stuff. Hear some great stories about our ranchers. Join our mission. Visit savebeef.org. That mission is to save beef.com from the cabal. And we do this every week. We try to bring you real stories and real talk directly from the ranch, because that's what we're about here. We're about building out the voices of the great American rancher directly from the ranch, directly from that ranch's domain. And that's what beefmaps.com is all about. Connecting you to your rancher's domain, no middlemen, just you and an authentic brand. And we get out of the way. So my name is Ruffshot June. I'll be your host tonight with Ranch Mama Shannon, my co-host. I'm the creative strategist at the Beef Initiative and Texas Slim Inc. And I come from Philadelphia and Trenton, New Jersey. And I didn't really see a cow my whole life. And it wasn't until I met Texas Slim that I was really introduced to a solution that I was looking for a really long time. And excuse me, you can hear I'm a little sick tonight, but we're going to push through it anyway. But something really terrible happened in my life when I was 20. My mama died. And so ever since then, I've been fighting for a way to save her and to save moms from what happened to her. And she died in the ghetto in Philadelphia. And after I met Texas Slim, I realized what the solution was. It was beef. Not just for its nutrition, but for its ability to empower communities and to empower families. And so after a couple of years of working with Slim, I started to build out the Beef Initiative with him. And then I met this wonderful woman named Ranch Mama Shannon. And so the boy from Philly, fighting for his mama, finds Ranch Mama Shannon out there in southern Iowa, and Beef Maps was born. And so what we're bringing to you here tonight is authenticity, realness, and direct connections to the people who are defending this land and its soil and its property and its stories. And those stories happen in the country and they happen in the city. And I believe that beef can save Philadelphia. And I think that Ranch Mama Shannon and Texas Slim and Rattlesnake Meats and Miller Bison and Jay-Z Meats and Todd Whale and Texas Slim can save Philadelphia. And I think beef maps is how we do it. So, I don't know. What do you think, Ranch Mama?
I think that it has been a great experience, us meeting each other and working together, because my goal is to help ranchers and help moms all across their country feed their families real simple food. Because I was that mom 20 some years ago. I started literally my health journey with a box of hamburger helper in one hand, trying to figure out how to make this box from real food, one step at a time. I'd never cooked in my entire life, and I had a little family to feed. And I was learning about all the different ways that my food actually affected me. And so I started with each flavor of hamburger helper, one box at a time. And then after a horrible experience at the sale barn one year with our cattle, one of our very first years, I decided that we were going to start selling directly to moms across the state of Iowa. And that's how I got started. And that's, I think, why we connected so much in the beginning. And we've got several of our beef maps ranchers on here. Kylie, down there is from Legacy Ranch in Illinois. Like you said, Marcy and Matt from Rattlesnake are from Rattlesnake Meats down in Kansas. And Jay-Z Meat, I don't know if we have Joe and Jenny or which of the crew we have on tonight. But they are from out in Colorado. And we've got Anthony with Miller Bison, um, down, down in the Southwest doing his thing. But we love connecting consumers with producers. And maybe Jenny can start and tell us a little bit about your ranch and how you guys got started.
Hi, Shannon. It's Jenny and Joe. We're both here. So we just, my husband's family started a ranch back in, the early 70s. And it was just at that time a kind of a hobby for him. My father-in-law was in construction. And when my husband and I were married, he asked us, do you guys want to take over our construction business or the ranch? At the time, they were running about 5,000 head of sheep. So we were like, we want the ranch. That's kind of where we started doing that. We, fell in love with the ranching business, and Joe was doing it since he was a little boy. Came along a little later, but we started dating at young age. So we grew up doing it together. And then, we had 3 wonderful boys, and they fell in love with the ranching, and they've all since married and have kids. We have 6 grandkids. So my mother-in-law and father-in-law and the rest of us, there's about 16 of us here on the ranch. They're all still trying to make a go of it. We've changed from sheep. I'm not sure what year. In the early 90s, we switched over to cattle. And we've just been kind of running it more of like I don't know, commercial, I guess is what it's called. More just taking them to the sale barn, trying to make a living, but also doing everything outside of the ranch to keep the ranch alive. And as you know, that's a tough way to go. So is actually my husband had been listening to some stuff about selling direct to consumer online. So we've been dipping our feet in it and enjoying it, because you sure get more bang for your buck. But, we run I'll let Joe speak to the kind of cattle we run. So.
Well, we run Angus Gelby cross. A lot of people call them balancers. I don't know if you know what the balancers are, but we like them. They're easy to cab. They're easy to handle. They got big rib eyes, and they finish out really good with what we're doing with the grass, because that's all we do is they just eat nothing but grass. Whether it's the grass that we grow or if it's in the mountains in Cimarron, either one, they just seem to really thrive on that.
That was a big change for us too, because when we were doing the commercial ranching side of things, we would just fatten some steers for us or for family or friends that were buying from us, and we'd fatten them on grain. And so when we started seeing this big move towards grass-fed and grass-finished beef, we got on board with it, and we can't tell the difference in the meat. So we had no problem switching over, and it is a little bit cheaper to finish them out if you don't have to buy the grains. So that fit right in with our little project that we're doing. And so we've just been moving along that way, and now we're all trying to get it going so we can get people back on working on the ranch instead of outsourcing all of our resources to pay for the ranch stuff.
Unfortunately, most people don't understand that ranchers have a second job. Most ranchers have a day job in order to pay the bills to keep the ranch afloat.
Yep.
And I think that that's one thing that we have to keep sharing, is that this is our nighttime job in addition to our daytime jobs a lot of times. And that's because it's our passion.
Yeah.
And you can hear that in your guys' voice. What experiences have you had so far with Beef Maps? I think I might have kind of oversold you from our short discussion here a little bit ago tonight.
Well, it's been amazing journey. Once you contacted us in December, we've just been rocking and rolling with a lot of sales and then a lot of interest as well. And talking to Joe after our conversation today, we might have a small steer to take in because just keep it alive, keep it going. We were going to save it till October, till it was completely finished, but could still get beef off of it if we needed to. So we'll figure it out, but it's been amazing. The contacts that we've had and the sales that we've had, and, far reaching too. You know, that's what's so nice. It's not just a little corner of the world, the corner of the United States. It's all over. We've had contact with people.
That's one thing that I do love about the internet, is that we get to develop friends all across the nation. We get to ship beef everywhere from New York City over to Western California and get to meet those people
Yeah.
in between those places as well. I think those relationships, those conversations that you're talking about having, are just the best for me.
Yeah. Yes, they are. And we've just been so blessed to meet, well, not you in person, but meet you through the phone and the internet. And we've been super blessed to meet the people that we've met. And,
I think it's pretty awesome. And I think Jenny could speak to the conversation that she had with the gentleman just the other day with some beef that we sold.
yeah, I called him to reach out to him and just affirm that he was ready for the shipment, because I wasn't sure if he thought it might be coming a little later. Anyway, it was the 35-minute conversation on the phone, and I know I've heard other people talk about that, but I have never experienced the long call that we had. I felt a little inadequate with some of the questions he was asking me, because he was talking in relative stuff here to Western Colorado, and I'm ashamed to say I was born and raised on the western slope of Colorado, but there was some of the questions he was asking me I didn't know. And I don't know if took me by surprise, because then afterwards I knew exactly what he was asking me. I knew the answers to, but it took me half a second. But he's a super nice gentleman out of Arizona, and I would thought we'd have had that kind of a conversation, but it was wonderful.
I think it's awesome that you can have those kind of conversations with these people, like one-on-one. They get to know us, we get to know them. It's just awesome that we can have that kind of connection.
Yeah, I truly think it's amazing. I heard Texas Slim say it here probably a year ago for the first time. Shake your rancher's hand. And he helps people virtually shake their rancher's hand. If they check out welcometobeef.com, or if they go to beefmaps.com, like you're talking about, Jenny, that's exactly how people find you. And then having those conversations, having those direct connections, I think is truly life changing for us as ranchers. And maybe, I can't speak for them, but maybe for them as consumers. I know some of our customers say that it is, and that's all the difference in the world is meeting that rancher and shaking that rancher's hand, whether it's virtually or whether it's in person, because like you said, Jenny, we've never met in person, but I feel like we know each other, and
Yeah.
I usually just see Joe's smile in the background. He's intently listening and paying attention. But you and I text quite frequently and figure out what's going on. And I just love the calls when you get to sell another side of beef and you get so excited.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just a thrilling thing for us because it was it's just, well, as anybody knows that starts their own business, it takes time to grow it. But when you're in that dire straight situation, like it's do or die time. You gotta make it go. And it's just continues to be happening for us that way. And that's just a wonderful blessing. And, and we have a lot of friends over here that we've grown up with that are in ranching, and we watch them struggling. And so when we first started this journey, we thought, well, we're going to see how it works out for us. And then we're going to tell them, hey, this is not a bad way to try it, because it's hard to make it go of it just by selling them at the sale barn.
It definitely is. I think that Adele had her hand up and had a question maybe for you.
Hi, good evening. I actually had a general question, but I do love the Beach Initiative and everything they're doing. I talk about y'all in spaces probably 3 or 4 times a week. And I know I have a lot of friends, connections on here that now buy from beatmaps.com. So I'm a big supporter, big fan. I of course order of myself. My favorite hamburger meat is from Texas Slim. So that's all we eat in my house. But I guess my question is like for ranchers. So for ranchers that are interested in joining the program, kind of what does that look like? Is it kind of I know you guys have kind of some specific things, like you want like shake a rancher's hand. I just wasn't sure what the requirements were and how you, I don't know, talk to ranchers about getting set up with y'all.
Well, the first step is for a rancher to go to beef.support, and that will connect them directly with me. And they'll get to learn more about our process. And through the emails, then you can sign up to be a listed rancher on Beef Maps. And that's $25 a month to have one of those icons on the map of Beef Maps. And then once we get to know you a little bit better, I like to know that you have your systems in place. You have a website, you've shipped beef before, you've learned how to ship, all these sorts of things. Then I invite those ranchers that I get to know to be a featured rancher. And so that is pretty much by invitation only at this point, because we like to know your qualities, how you raise your cattle. Obviously, we've all committed to no mRNA vaccines, those sorts of things. But Beef.support is the beginning steps to getting to know us as a rancher at the Beef Initiative and to get your ranch listed on beefmaps.com.
That's super helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you a rancher in your own right, or you just have friends who
No,
like?
I have friends and I have my daughter's homeschooled. We travel to different small towns all around Texas for like educational purposes and things like that.
Awesome.
And we're just super social, meet a lot of people, kind of involved with the community and that kind of thing. But I'm also in a lot of spaces and I talk to a lot of ranchers and farmers and people in agriculture. So I always refer back to your website, but I don't really know the process of getting set up. So going to beef.support.com. Is that what you said?
I think June might correct me. I think it's just beef.support.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
Um,
that's
she's
correct. Yep.
okay.
I will write that down so that I can give that information. But yes, that's very exciting. I appreciate it.
We
Yeah,
love Adele. She's very supportive of everything we do. Thanks, Adele.
Yes, thank you so much, Adele. I definitely see you and noticed you, so I really appreciate that. And I will say, we typically reserve a lot of the questions for the end, so we can give the ranchers and stuff a chance to speak. So if you do have your hand raised, or anybody does have anything that they would like to say, we'll definitely open the floor up for a lot more questions. But I did want to bring Adele up because she is a particularly strong supporter of us. So thanks again, Adele.
And I was just fixing to invite Breeauna to tell us about herself. Breeauna is the most amazing policy person I have ever met, because she can talk to me as a basic rancher who understands enough to get in trouble of policy, but yet she can go toe to toe with some of the best Washington insiders. So why don't you tell us about your position here in the Beef Initiative, Breeauna, and how you advocate for all of us, and what you're doing on Beef News, excuse me.
Thanks, Shannon. My head's gonna explode. That's really sweet of you. So I've been in policy for over a decade now, and our family, both my husband and I, come from families in agriculture, and we've watched as our family farms have shrunk, and our families have struggled through the in agricultural industrial shift. And so we moved due to some pretty terrible policies on the West Coast, and now we have a small operation. We have cows and calves, and anyways, so in terms of policy, I've really had an incredible opportunity to bring the concepts of creating liquidity and injecting liquidity back into rural America, and putting that on paper in a tangible manner for the incoming Trump administration. One of the biggest parts of that was sort of breaking down what the federal plan for equitable long-term recovery and resilience has done. On paper, it looked like this great idea. I know there's a lot of backlash most recently when new Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins pulled the LPFS and the LFS funding, for example.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, right, those two programs specifically were billions of dollars. They were only meant to be temporary during the pandemic to reach children who were at home, for example. That money really went out without oversight. And it was extremely arbitrary and not well defined in who it was going to. So to give you an example about the disadvantaged ranchers that this money was supposed to prioritize, it was based on immutable characteristics as opposed to quality of food raised or time on the farm, things that we would really like to see, for example. But, most importantly, I think, for that program in particular, those programs were funded through the CCC. The CCC is the Commodity Credit Corporation, and this is the USDA's credit line. This past Congress really reallocated a ton of funds away from the USDA's credit line. And it's had a significant impact in rural America because those funds are traditionally prioritized for things like, water infrastructure upgrades. Just one example, right? And we all watched this summer, in Idaho as those farmers had their water curtailed, because there was a dispute between the senior water right holders and the junior water right holders, because the water infrastructure is failing. And so neither are getting the water that they need. And this would be a pretty easy fix had that funding been in place. So I know it's, it can be a little bit difficult and people are a little frustrated here and there, but it's important to understand where this money has gone, who it's actually impacted, and if it's actually helped rural America or not. And that's something that that I've had the pleasure of being involved in recently. And really, when it comes down to it, our whole premise at the foundation, the I Am Texas Slim Foundation, revolves around very, very simplistic, classical, libertarian values of private property rights and the rights of the individual. So we're not partisan in any which way. We are solely focused on just these classical concepts of liberty, democracy, freedom, and the rights of the individual. So I think that's important to put out there because it really guides everything that we do in terms of policy and the fight for the separation of powers. And honestly, I'm working on an op-ed right now because we all see this impending economic catastrophe happening, and especially for everyone who is aware of the farm credit fiasco, for example, the unfunded liabilities that are sitting on the books. One of the main things that we could do to hedge that economic collapse is to radically decentralize our food and ag policy and just allow farmers to do what they do best. We could not only meet the needs of feeding this nation, but also reindustrialize in a way that helps to protect from farms going under and dragging down, collapsing our economy. So those are the fun things that we're working on right now. In addition to some state-based policy, we had some pretty significant wins at the state level. Both through our South Dakota chapter, and also I think through our Texas chapter, which Slim can give you guys an update on. But yeah, we had some pretty good wins here, and we're hoping for some really good news coming up here shortly. We're really hoping that the state of South Dakota will conduct a summer study and work with not only stakeholders but the incoming Trump or the now Trump administration on some of those policy concepts that I just outlined in terms of decentralizing some regulatory authority and allowing local processing. So yeah, thank you so much, Shannon. I really appreciate that wonderful and warm introduction. Much love, guys.
So I just want to say, I just want to point out here, we've just covered here in the past 15 minutes or so, 3 different levels of decentralization that all need to be accomplished in order for this thing to actually be real, right? All the work that Breeauna is doing on the policy side to decentralize the authority back to the ranchers themselves, it needs to be matched up with a technology that's decentralized just as much, meaning one that points you, the consumer, back to the rancher's website, back to their domain name, which saves their domain at their ranch, right? And all of this circles around the decentralization of the food, right? Consumers getting their food supply from local sources, not from the beef cartel. So this is how we're working, and this is how we're thinking, and this is how we're always going to move. We're going to move in a radically decentralized way, and we're going to challenge the way a lot of people think about things, and we're going to challenge you to also think about things differently with us. Because guess what? The road has already been paved on that side of things, on the centralized world with the big 4, with the beef cartel, with all that stuff, right? The global industrial food and economic shift is upon us. It's happening. There's no stopping it. It's been written. So we're going to carve out our own pathway here. And so that's what we're doing. So thank you so much, Breeauna, for just, I mean, as soon as Breeauna comes in, everyone's just like jaw dropped. Okay, time to learn some things. And so we love to do that. We were talking earlier today, me, Breeauna, and Slim, about just how great it is to be involved with a team who emphasizes humanness over everything else, right? Breeauna should just go lose it on the policy side. She should freak out in policy because she is driving real change, and we need people like her to do that. I'm going to go freak out on the internet, and Ranch Mama's going to go freak out on the ranch. And Texas Slim, well, he's the original freak of the whole show, so he's just going to keep doing his thing. But yeah, we have a lot of fun here. So anyway, thank you so much, Breeauna, for making all the fun worth it, because without that policy side of things, our fight is so much harder, right? So, yes.
It truly is. And like I said earlier, Brianna just simplifies it so much and makes it seem so easy. That decentralized word really got me when we first met June and Slim, because it seems so big and so impossible. And that's why what I love to do now is just connect consumers with ranchers. I've gotten to know Marcy and Matt at Rattlesnake a little bit more as well, and they are, I would say, definite libertarians. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if we like that word or not, but we all just believe that we want to help people. And the best way to do that is not to go through the big systems, not to go through the big four packers, the commercial marketplace, like what Jenny and Joe were talking about, because you don't have the control. What she alluded to was that ranchers don't get to set their own prices in any way, shape, or form. I've told this story a couple times, but your entire livelihood as a rancher goes through the ring in 60 to 90 seconds, and that one sale at that auction house determines if you get to make your mortgage payment for the entire year, or if you've got to figure out how you're going to make up that deficit. So that's why helping ranchers connect directly to consumers. A lot of us, Anthony and I were talking the other day about pricing. And he said, well, I think I could do that. I'd have to go back and figure my prices a little bit tighter, but I think we could do that. And I think we can make that work. We were talking about free shipping on some of his snack stick bundles on a new partnership that we have, which you'll learn about pretty soon. But just letting that rancher have that control again, I think is going to literally change the lives of so many ranchers that we have here. What do you guys think? Hit that mic button and you guys pipe up and tell me what you think.
Hey guys, it's Slim here, and I think that's the longest I haven't spoken since we started the Beef Initiative, and that's and that's all credit to June and Breeauna, and of course Ranch Mama and so many other people. But I think Ranch Mama said it best. It's daunting, and whenever we started the Beef Initiative, or whenever I was really doing the reconnaissance, to reflect back, Breeauna was doing the same thing from her perspective in how we looked at everything. It was daunting, but we drilled it down and it came together that we met each other holistically. And this is how we meet ranchers now, because we learned how to shake the rancher's hand. And we basically, I have a phrase, it's so simple, it's complicated the most. And, how I came up through agriculture and big tech is that ranchers are caught in this never land of not having basically exposure in the digital world that we live in. And so we had to attack this from many different spectrums, from policy, and, we had to look at policy from the technical and the internet side of censorship. But, what we have to do is just get out there, people, to get back to how we used to do things. And that's to be human again, like June said, and to really understand, because not only, we brought up there's a new, breed of cattle. Everybody thinks that Angus cattle is the only thing that's out there that's worth, consuming. And the education process that begins by just shaking a rancher's hand is exactly what this nation needs right now. because not only do you get to understand what, cow is, grazing, practices in Colorado on the Western Slope are a little bit different than the Texas Panhandle. And so, the consumers ever get to, now create a whole new culture within the people that they meet, the support that they can give. The cattle industry right now, we bring all these statistics and, June keeps on saying the cartel, we're not eating American beef anymore. And so how do you attack that? You're going to read a label? No, that doesn't tell you where the beef is from. And so if you want to take action and basically develop a new relationship and a new basically consumption model, you can find it in the digital world, and it's, comes from audio, video, and food. And our ranchers need, consumer demand. And that's how all this changes. All the nefarious stuff that happens within policy, regulatory capture, mislabeling, not knowing and giving true transparency to what we're consuming can, it all gets eliminated. And, you can do it to lifestyle change. And I told everybody, so y'all just don't understand. And this is the international lifestyle. And, it takes a little bit of time to, understand, but, we've been around the world a couple of times. We've looked at the global beef industry, and there is a global industrial shift, and it's underway, and they've had a lot of things planned. And Breeauna worked really hard to pass policy in South Dakota where there's not going to be any lab grown meats in our independent school districts in South Dakota. That's important because they're going to flood our food industry with, worse, proteins than they're giving us market access to. So everybody can develop their market access, and Ranch Mama Shannon in June, by developing beef maps, is a decentralized, basically peer-to-peer store of value now that anybody in the nation can utilize. And, we always say build out locally, broadcast globally. If you have to buy your beef from a digital, map, then do it, but learn how to go out there and find ranchers that are local and get them on beef maps. And this is how, we invert this system. So great job to the team. These spaces are going to be extremely valuable. June's made them into podcasts. So there's a lot of information. And guys, if you need to catch up, beefnews.org, go in there, research, do your own research, cause you got one of the best in Breeauna. So, and one of the best producers, of course, in June. And then Ranch Mama Shannon is rewriting the books on decentralized marketing for our producers. And this is something they've never had.
It's just amazing. Like you said, everything has worked out holistically the way that it's supposed to. And I'm